Welcome, everyone. This is Bet You Didn't Think You Could Put That in an Email. Let's take a look at the screen. Thank you for joining in. In the chat window, I'm going to paste in a copy of the file, and you can follow along with me with the resources. So, Bet You Didn't Think You Could Put That in an Email. This is a presentation about fun email tips and tricks that you can use in your marketing emails. Unexpected, fun. The session goals are to reset and think creatively. This is the last session of the conference. I want you to have an open mind and have fun. You will see a lot of different tips and tricks. Most of them won't be applicable to you. One of them will be really applicable and will hopefully make your business money. And finally, I'd like to help you think critically about the role of different email elements, when to use them, and what they're all about. Why should you listen to what I say? My name is Jacob, and I'm a tiny Canadian man who lives on the upper left side corner of your screen. But I have also been a marketing automation consultant with primarily working with Eloqua and very large enterprises like Bloomberg, Deloitte, Export Development Canada. I've also been a web analyst with our equivalent of AAA, been a SaaS marketer, an entrepreneur, and nowadays I'm a marketing operations manager leading the marketing ops team at LexisNexis Canada. We are a software company that makes software and a search engine for lawyers and also publish physical books. Now, let's get to our first set of tricks, getting social. Now, you've seen for Pardreamin, you've seen links that allow you to add things to the calendar, add an event into your calendar. This is something you too can do in your emails. When it comes to Gmail recipients, this is done using a tool that's here in the resources. By the way, in the presentation file, everything has a clickable link, and you can find out more by going there. By going to this tool, it helps you create a URL that's structured in a way that lets you just click and add things to a Gmail calendar. Very easy. For your Outlook and iPhone recipients, this is done through a different tool here called Marudot, and you enter your event information, and it generates a file called an iCal or .ics file. It's just a text file that looks like this, and then when it's clicked, it opens up Outlook Calendar and adds your event. What's nice about this is that this is just a regular file. You can upload it into Pardot and track the views just like you do with any other file. This gives you an idea of how many people opened it up, so you have an idea of how many people will attend. You can also trigger completion actions off of this for people that are really engaged. Next, you can also have links that allow people to tweet something or share something on LinkedIn. This can allow, this can increase the social media engagement with your content. And you can use this template here in the file, and URLs have a certain set of rules for formatting your text and your links. You can use this MeyerWeb tool down here to convert your text into things that will work with Twitter and LinkedIn. One thing to note is LinkedIn is kind of clunky when you're sharing web pages online. It's a very basic interface. Next, fancy tricks with HTML links. Now, a lot of you are familiar with your regular HTML href links that let you take a person to another web page, but did you know that you can also have a telephone number in a link? This triggers a person's mobile device or even their MS Teams or Skype to call a certain number. This comes in handy when you want to give them an easy way to get in touch with your team. And for this kind of format, remember to add a +1 for the extension code. Another thing you can do is add a semicolon or a comma to this phone number. What this lets you do is actually navigate a phone tree for your recipients. This comes in handy if you want to create a link just directly to your customer support or your billing department or a particular person's extension, like a sales rep's signature in your emails. A comma means wait 3 seconds before entering an extension, and a semicolon lines up the phone number for pre-dialing. This is what it looks like in Android and iPhone. In Android, it says, do you want to dial this extension? In iPhone, it's a more subtle indicator here, dial 123. This has been tested. Didn't work in MS Teams, this extension functionality. Another thing you can do is send an SMS message from a mobile device. You can enter the message in here. Again, you got to convert it into a special URL format using the tool, MyWeb tool we talked about. There are 2 different formats for Android and iOS, so you might want to have 2 different buttons so that your recipients can choose which one works for them. And it's confirmed to be working on iOS, on iPhone. Didn't show up on my Android, but that's probably because I'm using a very weird email client. So you can test it out and see if it works for your recipients. Finally, you've probably seen mail to links that open up your email client to send an email. You can specify the recipient's address, but you can also pre-populate the subject, the body, and even CC somebody. Now, you can create an email with a set of these links and run a basic poll that simply sends responses to somebody's email. This can be a poll, an RSVP, and it's a really easy way to get feedback without having to set up a form or a survey and tracking all of that. Next, you can link to a specific page inside the PDF. This is something that not everybody knows. If you have a very long sales brochure and you just want to take people to a certain section through your email, you can do that. You can also name a certain section and link to a named section. Now we're going to get to more complex tips for which we need to know what email clients your recipients use. How do you find out that information and Pardot? You go to Reports, Marketing Assets, Emails, and List Emails. Choose a list email that went to a wide variety of people and that they're representative of your database. Once there, here's the regular report information, but there's also the email clients tab here. Click on that. This will show you the breakdown of email clients. For this sample business-to-business organization, the recipients are mostly Apple iPhone, about a 5th Gmail, and a 5th Outlook. So this is typical of B2B. Outlook is a big player. For B2C, you're going to see a very different breakdown. You're going to see a lot of iPhone and Gmail. B2C marketers, you are really lucky because iPhone and Gmail can do lots of fun things in email that Outlook can't. Outlook is kind of clunky and cranky. Let's take a look at animated GIFs in emails. By the way, a slightly moving GIF like that is called a cinemagraph. Fun fact, GIFs are a very bloated format. It's recommended to keep files under 1 megabyte. If a recipient is paying for an Outlook 365 subscription, it'll play GIFs, but then lots of other versions of Outlook are only going to show you the very first frame. So you should make that count, and your email should make sense while seeing only that first frame. Think about why would you use an animated GIF? You'd use it to show something you can't with text or a static image. So you can show your product from different angles, different color variations, or if your product has an interesting function when it's working, you can show that to bring it alive a little bit more. Here is an example of a good way to use a GIF and not a not so good way. These are happy holiday messages. In this one, a gentleman appears and then the words happy holidays appear later. The first frame doesn't really make sense. And the one below, happy holidays, is there from the first frame, from the get-go. Then Michael Bublé appears and mouths happy holidays. So you should aspire for that second approach where your image makes sense even if only the first frame is shown. Next, something you've seen for per dreaming is you can have a countdown to an event inside an email, and this can be live. You can use this for an event, but also for the end of a sale or even a coupon. You can even have a per person customized countdown for cart abandoned coupons that are valid for only 2 hours after their cart is abandoned. These are server hosted GIFs. You cannot upload them into Pardot. There's a special functionality there. Here are some links and resources at the bottom for the businesses that let you do this. This costs money usually, but Counting Down To has a free tier that shows this banner. Now, my tips for you is if you're using this, put in a plain text and date because the countdown may not always work. Show it above the fold. Get that sense of urgency right up there. Don't hide the countdown at the bottom of the email if you've gone through the length of having it there. Give people a genuine deadline. Don't keep extending deadlines. Don't train them that they can just wait. Make them take it seriously. Finally, give them a single clear call to action, one thing to do. Remember that Outlook shows only the first frame. So again, this is why you need to have the end date in there somewhere. Another issue you might run into is Gmail image caching. To make sure that this keeps working for Gmail recipients, try to add a unique URL parameter for each recipient, so you can auto-populate it in Pardot like this. This graphic will be fetched on the first time people open it. So your countdown will be accurate the first time people view it, not so accurate afterwards. And finally, when testing, I saw a 10-minute time discrepancy between what I saw in Gmail and what I saw in the actual system where I set this up. So there's a little bit of a discrepancy. Next is video and sound. Now, a lot of you have linked to videos by having an image with an overlay. You add in, pretty straightforward, you add in a little play button and it takes people to your website and to a page where there is a video embedded. You can also have an animated GIF there to really drive home the point that this is going to be a video, get people excited. Now, you can also embed a live active video right there inside your email that they can play using the HTML video tag. Now, this works on Mac and iOS and on the Samsung Mail app. If on other clients, it's going to show a fallback static image. So it's pretty safe to use. You can fall back to this static image that we've just seen. An interesting technique I found during the research for this presentation is faux video. So you can have a preview of your video created by flipping through a bunch of images using a CSS animation. This works on Mac and iOS, but not Samsung. What's the benefit of this is, remember, GIF is a very low quality animation format. Here you can have really high quality short videos, short video previews. You still have to click through to the actual video. Finally, have you considered audio in your emails? There is an element that allows you to embed audio that's playable right there. It works on iPhone, iPad, and the all-popular Thunderbird. I know nobody uses it, just me. With this one, for other clients that don't support audio, you have a fallback. You can have a link to a page where this audio is embedded. Why would you use audio? It's a way to engage more senses and make your product or service come alive. Think about, actually, research has shown that the loudness of a car or a leaf blower influences people's desire for that item. They think it's really powerful. You can also play something that needs to be quiet. You can play the fact that it is quiet. let's say you're selling real estate, you can actually play a recording of that property near a forest, and what people will hear, the birds that sing in the morning. You're making this come alive for them. It's a better sales proposition. Next, what happens when images are blocked? Outlook, Yahoo Mail, and AOL block images by default. Yahoo and Outlook have about a 15% market share, but as you've seen in B2B, it's a higher market share. It's about 20 to 25% Outlook. So you really have to think about blocked images and working around that if you're sending to Outlook heavy databases. The first technique is you can make an image out of text. Now, this is really old school BBS. There are a bunch of tools that allow you to upload an image and convert it into text. They're down there at the resource section. You can make it more or less detailed. You can have it color or black and white. The trick to it is to use a pre-tag in HTML. It preserves the arrangement of the text accurately. Set a monospace font, like a typewriter font, and set the font size and line height to a similar measure so that you're getting really blocky letters like pixels. If you make your letters really tall, your lines too tall, you're going to get a really stretched out image. If you make them too short, you're going to get a squished image. Here's an example that you can use for that I've used for this preview during testing. Another thing you can do if you're keeping emails simple, you can use Unicode fonts. Now, below is a tool that allows you to generate text using these different Unicode fonts. It's sometimes tricky to add actual CSS fonts to an email, but these ones are very widely supported, and you might want to use them for special occasions. Like this one at the top looks like a black letter medieval font. It's great for Halloween, and it's pretty well supported. Do your testing though. Some fonts fail. This is rare, but you can see some may be supported in a particular client, while other specific ones may not be supported. Another thing you can do to make your email look great without images is image mosaics. Look at these examples where without images, this image block becomes a transformer face, and here you have a blocky representation of Anna Wintour, I believe. This takes a lot of work. It's time consuming, so you might want to use this for high volume mailing. If you've got a lot of recipients, then it makes the mailing will pay for it, for the effort that you've put in up front to do this. Use the Photoshop slice tool to divide the image into pixels and zones, and then it'll export into HTML like this. You will have to manually change the cell background colors to create this kind of colorful mosaic out of the images. You can also do this slicing in GIMP, which is a free image editing tool, but it's fairly basic. Next thing that you can do is just use CSS and tables right up front to create a pixely image without relying on image tags. This one doesn't fall back to an image like the previous technique. It just stays like this. It's very good for small logos. You can see this LexisNexis logo I converted from a GIF to an HTML table. It's almost identical, and it will never fail. It will always show up like that. This kind of look is good for a playful or retro brand that is fine with pixely images. And it's great if you have a lot of Outlook users in your database. Now, these are the tools that convert an image into pixels. One thing to keep in mind is this original one is 1.5 kilobytes. This HTML table is about 10 times as large. So it makes your emails bigger. So use this cautiously. Next, we're going to look at dynamic customized images that are customized in a really complex way for one recipient using Pardot tags. One thing that you can do is you can generate barcodes and QR codes by constructing a URL like this using barcodes for .me, and you can fill in a coupon code or somebody's name or any kind of data that you need. It's great for events anywhere where there's a scanner involved, and you can even use it on Shopify for store discounts. It's a little complicated, but the link is down there if in the resources if you want to really investigate further. Now let's make it a little more complex. Can you imagine sending something like that to a particular recipient? Well, this will spook them, but you can get an idea of this nice text overlay and customized with their name. You can do this using a service like ImageIX. Again, this is just a URL that is populated in your WYSIWYG Pardot email builder. You can fill in the first name and the text and specify font size and things like that, the alignment, and you can just generate a custom image for every recipient with their name. Making it more complicated is you can use Cloudinary to overlay special fonts like this Happy New Year. You see, this is just a URL. And you can even customize what kind of backgrounds show up for every recipient. If somebody in your database wants to go to Hawaii as the contest winner, then you can preview the Hawaii image. If they really want to go to Vegas, you can pre-populate the Vegas image, again, just using Pardot tags. You can use this for generating automatic sales rep signatures if you've got 1,000 sales reps, different graphics for different personas, and you can even enter text into email header images without having to tap your graphic design team to create a new image. You just overlay this text and your brand elements. Next level stuff is if you have loyalty points or credit scores, you can pre-populate that for every email, and then every person will see their own custom score in the email. You're also able to pre-populate their favorite soccer team. You see, again, in this example, they're pre-populating their name, their team, and the logo in the back. My favorite thing that I found was created with Nifty Images. It's where you can have an image in your email that is customized not only by name, but using a postal code, you can show the weather either at a person's location, or even more useful, if you're in the travel business, you can show what the weather is like in the person's preferred travel destination. This uses a weather data feed that's connected to it. Again, pretty cool. This is the most complicated thing that I found in preparation for our presentation today. These are parallax emails. As you scroll down, you can show a character moving through an environment, overlapping certain graphics, being overlapped by other graphics. This one is very complicated to do, uses lots of advanced hacks, works only on iOS and Apple Mail and Gmail. And you would use this again because it takes so much work for very large mailings, and you would use this if you need to show someone going on a journey, illustrate a timeline, or show stability despite certain things happening all around you. Let's say you work for an insurance company, you can show that how somebody comes unscathed through a bad experience. So we've arrived at the end of our presentation. If you want to learn more about all these cool tricks that you can do, again, all the resources are available in the presentation in the link in the chat. And you can also read more at these places. I would start with the Twitter hashtag emailgeeks. It seems like a very friendly community, and they're sharing really interesting stuff. Thank you very much. Thanks for sharing your time with me. And we have a little bit of time at 1:10 is the final keynote for Part Dreaming. But if you'd like to stay around, I'm going to take questions through the chat and Q&A. And also, if you'd like to get in touch with me, chat about Pardot, marketing automation, career progression, ask questions about things that you've seen here, please get in touch. Don't be shy. And thank you very much. I'm just going to try and escape out of my screen. There we go. All right. Going to read through your questions and chat session. Thanks for your kind feedback. I am not very heavily into web design and email design. I am a bit of an interloper in this space because I thought it was very interesting. There are very skilled people who provide tutorials and explanations of how they do all of this, and they're linked to and credited in the links in the presentation. Is there any way to translate the language in the email using Google Translate? I wouldn't know the answer to that, but I would check if there's a way to populate either your view online link or the actual text of the email into Google Translate as maybe a URL parameter, just as you've seen me customizing images through providing text into a URL parameter. Maybe there's a way to do that. Maybe there's a way to translate snippets of that. If you're sending multilingual emails, I can address that, but let me know. I'll talk to that towards the end. Can you insert survey questions in the email? With most emails, what I've seen done is people construct links with pre-configured answers. So if your survey is multiple choice, you can absolutely have that in an email. Look into creating a form handler and customizing that with each URL, feeding a particular response to your form handler. That's how you pass multiple choice answers. If you want open-ended survey questions, you're going to have to take them off to a website, or I believe also AMP emails for Gmail allow you to fill out forms, but AMP email is its own can of worms. You might want to look into that if you work for a very large mailer, very large organization. So I'm going to look in the chat again. All right. Seems that there are no more questions coming in. I'm just going to stop the video feed, and I'll be here for a little while. I'm pasting in the link to where you can find this presentation deck. Again, get in touch with me if you have any questions. And thank you very much for joining in. I'll be here for another minute or two, just answering through chat.